Dance Theatre's co-director, Vicki Hawkins, couldn't love her job more. We talk neurodiversity, deputyship, the importance of inclusivity, and why it really does all come down to the joy of the moment. Follow her at blink.dance.theatre and continue listening for both a moving and informative chat. Hello and welcome to Vicki Hawkins. Thank you for joining us today, Vicki.
No worries, lovely to be here.
Cool. So what I usually do is I ask, because it's a surviving parenting podcast, I usually ask our guest if they can break the ice with a funny parenting moment or foul. But you're not a parent.
Right.
So instead, I am going to ask you, if I may, about your process of becoming a legal guardian for your friend who has Down syndrome. And I've just learned the official term, which is deputyship. Have I got that right?
It is, yeah, that is right, yeah.
So do you want to tell us a bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I can. So basically, Francis, who's one of the directors of Blink as well, actually, we've known each other for over a decade, and he's just turned 30. We celebrated his birthday in a limousine, nice and classy.
Very cool.
Before we went to American Diner and ate a lot of food. Yeah, so I think basically what a lot of people are sometimes not aware of is the big jump for people who are neurodiverse from children's services to adult services. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's not so much in place for adults, and without giving too much away, because obviously confidentiality, like Francis was in a sort of residential setting that was very inappropriate. But because no one was actually a legal guardian, or it's now called deputy, there wasn't too much that was able to be done about that. And then he moved home to his family's house during the lockdown, and it's only been since we've been looking for a new place for him to live. They've said, oh, it would be great if he had some deputies, and the role is to sort of, in a nice way, work alongside social services and work alongside the housing team and the housing managers to make sure that everything's been done in France's best interest. So it's kind of like a supportive role, but also, I guess, where needed, we can legally challenge decisions that are being made, whereas before we weren't able to do that. And yeah, I think his mum's just amazing, because she's called it a 20-year handover. So she's not by any means old. She's absolutely vibrant and incredible. But I think that she's keen to think of the future, and me and Francis are very close, and I'm just really happy to have this role, or hopefully have this role in his life, which just goes beyond sort of casual friendship. It feels like a sort of created family, I guess, rather than a biological one.
So, that's such a lovely story. Slightly welling up. No, that's very, very cool. Amazing. And I want to ask you more about Blink Dance Theatre. I know that you mentioned it quickly there. I know that you're a dancer and choreographer specialising in inclusive practice. And I know you're part of this Blink Dance Theatre group, it's a group of 5 neurodiverse individuals, isn't it? Artists who perform and facilitate together. There's
actually 4 of us now. One left during lockdown, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you run a lot of sort of inclusive dance and drama workshops at schools. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the work that you do in schools?
Yeah, so I'm one of these really annoying people who love my job.
I
know.
That's really annoying.
It's really annoying.
I love my job as well. Job as well.
Okay, great.
I have to say that because I'm currently being paid to do this. No, I don't. I actually do.
I feel very, very lucky. So I alongside the rest of my team, we work in special needs schools and sort of inclusive settings like community centres, but we do a lot of work in special needs schools, and we always co-teach with a learning disabled artist. So this is something that is beginning to happen a bit more, but maybe not quite enough. And we just feel like it's really, really important to have role models with learning disabilities. Like, there are not enough. There's like a few like cherry-picked people like on certain advertising campaigns, but it's not the same as someone who is trained in a career that is viable for other young people to think, I could actually do that as well. So a lot of the work is role modeling leadership, and so that's, and also like I just think that there's something about lived experience of one person to another when they're working. So if I'm working with Delson, he's one of our directors and he's nonverbal. And if he's working with a nonverbal young person, there's just a whole language that I can't tap into, and it's beautiful. Like, it's really cool. Like, he has got the lived experience that child has as well. And why would you want it any other way? Like, why am I stepping in? Like, that's a perfect scenario. So I guess it's just facilitating those kind of interactions. And so we work mainly with young people with really complex needs, complex autism, severe autism, and profound and multiple learning disabilities. And I guess like it is dance, but it's really just finding a fun and exciting and relevant platform to sort of spark connection between people and sort of like build little sort of connection fires everywhere, and be really responsive to the moment. And that's it in a nutshell, really, I guess.
No, that's very cool. So can I ask about the term neurodiverse? For anyone that's listening that even may not have heard that term, could you explain what that term actually means and some examples? I know that you've mentioned ASC already and PMLD, which is profound and multiple learning disability, but can you just tell me a little bit more about that actual umbrella term?
Yeah, so I can only really talk about it from our perspective.
Sure.
So we call ourselves neurodiverse, our company Blink, and that is because we sort of have a range of barriers and I guess you could say difficulties that make us unique. So some of us have learning disabilities. So a learning disability is like something that will affect someone's whole life. So you can't there's no cure for learning disability, and it's characterized by like an intellectual like disability, and I think you'll have to check MenCat's website for the exact facts, but I think there's like certain areas, and to be diagnosed with a learning disability, you basically have like below the national average of like several areas together, which makes quite a lot of barriers in your life. So there's some people in our company with learning disabilities, and then very specifically some people with learning difficulties, and these terms often get confused. So I have a learning difficulty, I've got dyslexia and dyscalculia, and so that is rather than being like affecting my general life like a learning disability, it's a very narrow part of my life that is affected. And there's also some people in our company who have mental health problems. So we call ourselves neurodiverse because we have a range of diversity in our neurology, I guess. Whereas if we were just working with people with learning disabilities, we probably wouldn't say neurodiverse. But this is just our perception of the term. Was there another part that I've forgotten?
Normally there is two parts. I only gave you one part to the question, which is very unlike me. I do like to offload quite a lot of information, even in the question. No, that's very cool. Thank you so much. I would love to know about how you got into the field and sort of this is coming in two parts, and what is most fulfilling about it. I know that you said you absolutely love your job, but tell me what is most fulfilling.
So how I got into it was when I was at university, I went to Roehampton to study dance, and when I was at university I was off sick for a year. They thought I had ME actually, but I've got a inner ear sort of like thing, neurological thing. And as I was recuperating from having my year off, one of my friends at the time said, "Oh, I volunteer in this cafe. Do you want to come along?" And it was the perfect thing because it was just a couple of hours in the morning. So I went along, and it was called Cafe Art. And it was really cool. So basically, there was a group of people with learning disabilities, and some people really liked art and some people really liked cooking. So the morning would be split up between this really cool art teacher, like no colouring in the numbers or anything like that. She like brought in this like Jackson Pollock splashing it about everywhere, like awesome, like amazing, really cool stuff, really experimental. So half the group would do that art, really high quality, and the other half would bake in the kitchen. And then around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, the cafe would open to the public. And some people would stay in the cafe and serve the public and make them coffees, teas, and sell their cakes. And then the art would be like on the walls for people to buy as well. And it was just a really cool project, and I just loved it. And I was angry actually, because I feel like I'd never ever met someone with a learning disability before. And I just felt like I'd come home. Like, and I don't mean to say that in a cheesy way. I just felt like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. And I actually like ran to the toilets and I cried. And it wasn't because I felt sorry for anyone or because I'd seen something horrible. It was literally because I was like, this is that moment that everyone dreams of, where they just feel like this is what I want to do. And I just felt like, all my skills and all my personality just really suited the work. And so when I went back to uni, I started working in a care home with 44 residents with learning disabilities, which doesn't really happen anymore. And just built up a whole load of experience, like alongside studying. And so, and then I met other dance companies who were working with neurodiverse people, and sort of paved my way from there. And the most exciting bit about my job, the most fulfilling part for me, is being a real expert in learning to take huge joy in the small things. So, for example, there is a young person with autism that I maybe worked with for 4 years, and they looked at me after 4 years in the eye. And that for me is like the highlight of my year. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm so excited because that is such a difficult thing for them to do, and they've done it. And so for me, it's taking joy in those little things, really. Because if you're looking for pirouettes, you're not going to get it. And so, but I find I don't want pirouettes. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I feel like, when you said you love your job, I feel like I'm literally loving my job today because I'm just really hooked into what you're saying. That was so sweet. When you were talking there about having your inner ear thing, and you said perhaps, or they thought perhaps you had ME. I actually had to take 2 years out of university as well because I had ME, and it was ME. And that I was on a completely different path to the one that I went on after having ME. And I had a very similar experience in some ways because I went into the field of work that I got better from, and became a therapist. And I had like a real epiphany, sort of soul purpose moment.
Oh, wow.
This is what makes my heart sing, like you did, because of something that happened to me, which at the time was horrible and taxing and in some ways traumatic, but coming through it and having a completely different life because of it was exactly what I needed. So a similarity there. Yeah,
I haven't met many people that have had that, so
I'm so grateful for it. Even tricky, having kids as well, sometimes it feels like a bit of a slog. It feels a bit like Groundhog Day, but just sinking into the present, sinking into the here and now. And actually there are no problems in the here and now generally. All problems exist in the past or the future. We're worrying about what has happened or what might happen, what is yet to come. And in the here and now, it's actually quite beautiful. So thanks for going into that. Tell me about Project Hatch. Is that still going on?
So Project Hatch isn't going on, but there's repercussions from it. So so Project Hatch was like coming out of lockdown really, and just learning how to work in a completely different way. A lot of people obviously went digital. As I've explained, a lot of the people that we work with don't do digital, and it wasn't accessible for them. So we did one digital project mainly for our learning disabled staff, which is called Tea Break, which is like a weekly check-in on Zoom. And it was actually inspired by, I don't know if you saw that Grayson Perry, the art club program over lockdown. It was really cool. So they got they did a different theme every week. So one was like through the window, and they got loads of different artists, mainly amateur from people at home, and they selected their artworks, and you saw like children and grandmas like making this different work. It was really cool. So we sort of copied that idea and gave them a theme each week, and they brought something to show us, because we just thought it's really important, even though it's not dancing, to be able to still be creating. So some people would bring their new kettle and show us how that worked, and some people brought some origami. So it was quite diverse.
Oh, I like it.
But yeah, that was Tea Break. And then one of the big parts of Hatch was we created a show called Drive Through, which was co-directed by me and Frances, who I've talked about already. And it was for people with profound and severe learning disabilities who can't log into National Theatre Live, or just didn't have access to any of that stuff. And the idea came from my auntie. I was talking to her, and she volunteers at a care home for adults with learning disabilities, a residential home. And it was in the midst of the pandemic, and I said, "Oh, what have you guys been up to?" And she said, "Oh, well, we've been getting the minibus and going to sit in the park, car park, and look at the park. We can't get out and go to the park, but we've been sitting in the car park and looking at the park." And I was like, "Oh, that's really interesting." So they can still get in the minibus. So we basically created a show where community groups that came in their minibuses to a theatre car park and stayed in their bubbles, and then we did the show on the windows of the bus. So we had some characters, and we had foam, and we had a massive blackout tent, and we did some UV stuff, all about a story that Frances had written, which was nothing to do with the pandemic. We were really clear about it has to be a sort of escapism
for sure,
situation. So that was a really interesting way for us to develop a new way of being, I guess. And lots of people said, even when the pandemic goes, this is really good because groups just can't get to the theatre. There's lots of transition. People get find it very hard to transition into a new space that is unfamiliar, and so I think it is something that we'll keep looking into to see if we can keep doing it, really.
Oh, so that's amazing. And what are you working on now? So I know that you're super, super, super busy. Thank you for taking the time, by the way, because I know that it's a diary nightmare.
Thanks for being flexible.
Oh, that's okay. Tell me what you're working on at the moment.
So we are just about to start working on a new show in January. So with our shows, it's a non-hierarchical approach. So the 4 directors, neurodiverse directors, are completely equal in the creation.
Okay.
And the show is about food, because we always find something fairly simple that we all love equally, and food is one of those.
One of them.
And actually, Frances named the show. It's called Elvis Died of Burgers, and it's about. So the starting point is about a time when me and Frances went on tour. This was a really long time ago with another company. We went to Germany actually on a coach with 45 adults with varying disabilities to perform. And there was a barbecue celebration on the last night of the show, and no one was designated to watch Frances necessarily, because it was quite easygoing. And we didn't realise that he had eaten 13 burgers. And so he ate 13 burgers. And then we got the coach straight afterwards, and we stopped off at a service station, and he'd been in the service station. He was absolutely fine. We saw he was there, and then we couldn't find him anywhere. And we're on this German highway, no one could speak English, and well, English was a barrier, and we were looking for him, trying to describe, there's a man with Down syndrome, you've seen him, everyone's like tearing their hair out trying to find him. Got back onto the coach, and then someone went to go to the toilet, and he's basically just been throwing up in the toilet and then fallen asleep from the exhaustion of vomiting the 13 burgers up. And we were like, where have you been?
Were you beside yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. He doesn't always think about danger. So he just obviously did what he needed to do, but we were screwing. Yeah, we were really worried.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, in a funny but also quite serious way, looking at like food waste and like when food is too much and when that's funny, but when that's also quite sad. And it's sort of like looking at that as a bit of a theme.
I think it's really cool when art is both funny and sad. I think that things can be completely opposing and the same as well.
The Twinkl Parents Hub is full of helpful advice, activities, and ideas to support people like you. You can find stacks of content to help with your child's learning, blogs packed with fun ideas, and resources to support you and your child's health and well-being. Head to the Twinkl website, click Parents, and see how we can help you survive and thrive. Twinkl Parents, made by teachers, trusted by parents.
Cool. So last question, because I think I might have to let you go in the next few minutes, unfortunately. I know you've told me what are the most fulfilling parts of your job, but I would love to know what you have learned most about yourself as an individual.
Yeah, this is a big question. I'm just going to freestyle it.
Go for it. See where it takes us.
Yeah, we'll see where it takes us. Oh, I feel like I've learned so much. At the moment, I'm learning to take up space. That's what I'm learning at the moment. It's easier to think about what you're currently learning, isn't it? And I think as a female in director, who is caring, because I think that our job crosses over care and art. It is quite hard to say no, to say this is what I need, particularly to say this is what I need when other people's needs are more apparent or louder. And that's become quite a thing since the pandemic. Obviously mental health takes a turn sometimes, and I think I've learned a lot to be bolder and not so apologetic about saying what I need. So at the moment that's one of my lessons. I'm currently mid-tour, we're doing another little bit of our tour next year with another company called Deptford Freestylers, who are a neurodiverse group. And at the beginning of that process, I very much felt like I was caring for people on stage and making sure everyone's all right. And then the director just turned around and said, you can't really, caring is only part of the role, but being an inspiration is an equally valid part of the role. And if you are not able to fully be yourself and show what you can do, then other people are missing out. They're missing out on seeing what else is available, or seeing you in your element and finding a spark from that will take them somewhere. So I think that's what I'm really thinking about at the moment is when I'm in sessions, taking my experience back from that and thinking, okay, all of these young people, I can give them all the toys and all the resources that they really like and the music that they like, but let me have a moment where they watch, and not because I'm being selfish and not because I'm egocentric or anything like that, but because actually that is the art. That is part of the art, and it's actually bringing that to them because they can't always go out and see it.
And you have something to give.
Yeah.
It's actually freestyling, then that you have something to give. And when you were talking there about taking up space, I was really listening with you then, because I do think, especially for women, May I say that if there's dads listening, it is, because we don't have certain systems propping us up already in place, it is slightly harder. And I'm with you there because, I've had that sort of journey of, how can I be compassionate and empathic and sort of be a bit of a humble yogi, but at the same time, think that I'm amazing and take up space. It is like something to consider, isn't it? And something really to mull over. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing answer. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone listening, where can we find you?
So we are primarily London-based, although we do sometimes venture out. So we've just done something in Maidenhead last week. Yeah, we do sometimes go. You can find us on our website, which is www.blinkdancetheatre.org. Cool. We'd love you to find us on Instagram. That's where we post our most vibrant, up-to-date stuff. So that's lowercase blink.dance.theatre.
Okay. So please follow.
Yeah, please follow us. There's a lot of behind the scenes antics as well as all sorts of things. I'll let you find out.
Your Instagram is amazing. Honestly, I know I keep on saying amazing, but and I also love your website because I listened to the story of Cody being bullied. There's so much content on your Instagram and your website, so definitely check both of those things out. You want to listen to it.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks.
No worries. And thank you for joining me today. I hope your tour continues to be wonderful and lovely and fulfilling. And anyone listening, I'm sure, found that super useful. So thanks for coming.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
Take care.